probably are as intelligent as you guys are, okay? But then it's just that thick crust of androgen just sort of the females would get hurt more in that process.
Coming to the women in your life, so if we start off from your residency program or your PhD, was there some women who trained you that you looked up to and who aspired you to be who you are today?
Right. So where does that start? That influence on your brain. Where does it start really? And I can. It's hard to say, but if you allow me, I would like to mention about Amigan.
I was gonna rephrase my question and say that you had these women in your life, and we start off. So there was your Amigan,
right?
And then did you have any sisters?
Sisters, yes.
And then you have your sisters. Then you have Dr. Kishwar.
Right.
Then you had probably your
daughter.
Mentors.
Right.
And then now you have daughters.
Right.
And then you have juniors.
And I have lots of daughters now,
yes.
who are part of SIG and part of NSIG, right?
Then you have have graduated from your neurosurgical program.
Right.
And you have students like me, like Hafsa.
Right.
So there are all these women.
Right.
So let's first talk about your Amigan and then go.
So it always fascinates me when I hear about people, because I always ask them that what does your mother do? Yeah. And it always, because I ask them, what does your father do? What does your mother do? And many times I hear that my mother is educated and she's a professor and all that thing. So it fascinates me. Mm-hmm. But my Amigan never went to school. She never went to school. Yeah. And I think it's an important thing to realize that rational thinking does not depend on schooling.
Yeah.
Amigan was one of the most rational thinkers in my life. Okay. Never went to school. My Nana was, again, a humble beginning, not really a rich person, but he was the one who was educated in that village in Bihar, in that area. And the village name was Katni Kol. So he was the one who actually started a madrasa over there. He was the one who started a little clinic over there. He was a homeopathic doctor and a few other things. And Amigan got educated at home in Urdu and Arabic and Quran. But then when I was growing up, I remember Amigan would have some kind of English book with her because she wanted to study herself. So she would do that. Maybe English fairy tales or Russian fairy tales or whatever, right? She would do that. Mm-hmm. But then she was a very rational thinker.
Then you have these amazing neurosurgeons who are actually out there working. I've worked with Bushra, I work with Noor. Bushra Mashras is doing her work in Qaid-e-Azam, and I've seen them respect you like a dad, and I've always heard good stuff about you. Right. And it was nice to know that they have somebody above them who will always be there for them, who will put up his neck for them and be there. So
yes, so it probably I mean, if I have a female resident, it brings that out, right? That you have to take care of them, because I won't name one of the female residents. She got a lot of grief from some people, and so I had to stand up for her. But then alhamdulillah, we have had so there were a couple who actually joined and then finished their residency program somewhere else. Yes. One is Aisha. Yes. She's doing excellent in Shaukat Khanam. Bushra, I'm very proud of. But then so these women are strong to begin with, because to survive in this male-dominant environment, and you say, hey, you back off. You're not stepping on my toes. So Bushra was one of those.
I agree, but you can be really strong as a woman. Right. But then if you have somebody who can support you like a dad, like a friend, that is the biggest thing that you can achieve. And I've seen that with you and your residents. Right. You support them like a dad. Like we have dads at home, and then we have these people like you who are there, and we know that if we get into trouble, there's somebody there who will be there for us.
Yeah, I think so. As Kishwar was able to wash away the chauvinism in me, probably these qualities start to shine more.
No, for being somebody who was myself resident, now that I'm in a faculty position, I think it's a it's amazing to have people like you around.
Thank you.
Who are always there, who we can turn up, and who will be helpful and who would listen to us, and it's very important to have that. It's very important to have that.
I think so. Yeah, it's a culture that starts to develop, and as I said, it's not one person, but then a lot of people around, they start to develop that culture, and it's a slow process, right?
Yes.
It's going to keep on changing. What I saw happening to female residents who were my colleagues back in 90s, I do not see it that often. It does happen now and then, but less so. And then it keeps on changing. And I mean, so the dean Adil Heather, for example, he's a great female advocate, right?
Yes.
So these kind of things, you don't expect that happening 5 decades ago.
Agreed. But then since this has started,
Right.
I've seen the change. So people will see you,
Right.
and they will learn from you,
Right.
and
Absolutely.
hopefully will it'll be better ways for
Absolutely.
women
Absolutely.
now. Then Dr. Kishwar.
Then Dr. Kishwar. So Kishwar. So I was a chauvinist to begin with. And that comes from, coming from Bihar, and Abhijan never had a family. He was basically kicked out of his home because of a stepmother situation, all that thing, sort of. So I had, and then, you're talking about 70s and 80s, so chauvinism is part of it, right? So I was a little chauvinistic, and Kishwar basically taught me slowly, with her.
That is the most beautiful thing.
Yeah. So, slowly and gently and, persistently she did that. So the chauvinism started to go down and down and down. And I think, but then before Kishwar, Amigan was working on that.
Yeah.
So, she it may not seem like something strange to you now, but I think in that generation, for someone to say, okay, look, physically hurting your wife is a very bad thing.
Yeah.
It was not, even now there are some mullahs who say, you can do little tashaddud and all that thing, right? But it's pretty much accepted. But go back a generation, and Ammi Jan sort of inculcated in your mind that, your woman and you're about the same level, right?
Yeah.
And you can't hurt each other physically. I mean, you can have arguments, you can have fights and all that thing. So I think it goes back over there. And then Kishwar had to work more on me to, get rid of my chauvinism, and then obviously, things changed.
Awesome. And then, mashallah, so you have daughters?
Yes. So I have lots of daughters, if you want to talk about that, because I consider all the students in not only SIG and NSIG, but all they are sort of my daughters. Now they are becoming granddaughters, right? So as I'm getting old, right? But I have my own biological daughter also, Hannah. So it's Hannah with an A, right?
Yes.
And I tried to brainwash her a lot.
Yes, I know.
You know that, right? So I tried to brainwash her, saying that, look, architect is a great thing and all that thing. And she gave me a surprise one day at the dinner table. She said, I can't imagine myself doing anything, but she said, I think neurosurgery.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, what? So I tried to brainwash my sons to get neurosurgery. Nobody did. But they're right.
Maybe she heard all of those.
Maybe it affected her, right?
Yes. Few last questions.
Right.
Is there a message that you'd want to give to your residents, your students? What should they learn from?
So this is from the gender aspect.
You can have two messages.
Oh, I
a
could.
general and a gender aspect.
Yeah. So I mean, the other message is basically it's pretty cliche, So let's forget that. You got to follow your passion and this and that, right? So everybody knows that. So we are in that field already. But then the gender thing. So there's a book by Bernard Lewis. It's a small book. And I really don't like foreigners talking about our culture, but then it's a good book. So the book's name is What Went Wrong.
Yeah.
And there are 3 points that he mentions. He talks about that how the Muslim civilization was at its peak and it went down. And he talks about 3 things. One thing is about we did not respect time. Where everybody else, they were going into chronography and things like that. We were just going opposite way. So that was one thing. The other thing which does not make a lot of sense was, but he makes a point, we did not respect music. So by music probably talks about art and things like that. But then we did respect a lot of art though. So, but then music, for some reason, we always thought about music as something which is of a lower class. So anyway, it makes the point. I'm not very convinced on that point. But the third point, which is actually second in his book, is about that we did not respect women.
Yeah.
And it's obvious. I mean, there's maybe more intelligence in women brain than men brain, because we probably are as intelligent as you guys are, okay, but then it's just that thick crust of androgen just sort of does not let it work. Our synapses are not that efficient maybe. So but then you don't let women work, go out, make policies, push the edges of different fields. So you're cutting down your efficient or effective force into half or less than half by letting males do it only, right? One can make a point, if women are working, then what about the family and all that thing? Well, then contribute together. But then just trying to curtail an innovative and an expeditious woman's mind, you're just hurting yourself. So that's one of the major points. So I think what I have seen is that if we stress the gender equity in all fields, it's going to push things further and make it actually a better place. So that's what everybody has to remember. And I've seen that happen in my residency program also. When you have the females, residents, it brings more balance. I'm not talking about gender balance, but there's about balance about a lot of things. That was something that I have observed. Very few would pass through it unscathed, whether it's a male or a female. And the females would get hurt more in that process. It still goes on.
Yeah.